Good morning, students. This is Alpha Metric High Secondary School. Welcomes you all to the 11th Standard Commerce class. Today, we are going to see Chapter 7, Cooperative Organization. The learning objectives. To know the meaning of cooperatives, to know the characteristics, advantages and disadvantages. Next, to know the principles of cooperatives and also the types of cooperatives. Introduction. The cooperative movement was started by Robert Owen in the year 1844. He formed a consumers' cooperative society in England with 28 workers as members called Rochdale Society of Equitable Pioneers. In 1844 in England, 28 weavers called as Rochdale Pioneers started the first ever cooperative society. So this cooperative form of business organization, it came into existence during the Industrial Revolution. So this movement, it was spread throughout the world as organizing cooperatives in different fields of economic activities. For example, in the field of farming, marketing, processing, housing, transport, insurance, etc. In all these fields, cooperative societies were organized, and this is mainly, it was not profit motive. Its motive was not profit, but it was to help the needy persons. We'll see what is the meaning of cooperative. A cooperative is a private business organization that is owned and controlled by the people who use its products, supplies, or services. Although cooperatives vary in type and membership size, all are formed to meet the specific objectives of members and are structured to adapt to members' changing needs. So a cooperative, it is a private business organization and it is owned and controlled by the people who use its products, supplies or services. And the cooperatives, they are of different types, and the size members in the cooperative society also varies. And these cooperative societies, if you see, the members of these cooperatives, they are less powerful people who are in the society. And for example, the farmers, producers, workers and consumers, all these people, they found that they could achieve something or they can be successful when they are together than they work individually. So the cooperative societies were formed. Next, definition. Cooperation is a form of organization in which persons voluntarily associate together as human beings on the basis of equality for the promotion of the economic interests of themselves. So, this was the definition given by H. Calvert. So, according to him, cooperation is a form of organization, a business organization, and the people, they voluntarily join together on the basis of equality for their economic interest, for the promotion of their economic interest. Next, cooperation is better farming, better business and better living. And this was the definition given by Sir Horace Plunkett. Here are some of the examples of a cooperative society: Indian Coffee House, Mother Dairy, Sri Mahila Griha Udyog Lijjat Papat, Indian Farmers Fertilizers Cooperative Limited, the Indian Airlines Cargo CGHS Limited. We shall now see the next topic, principles of cooperation. So what are the principles of cooperation? Voluntary and open membership, democratic member control, member economic participation, autonomy and independence, education, training and information, cooperation among cooperatives, concern for community. So these are the principles of cooperation. We'll now see one by one. The first principle, voluntary and open membership. Cooperatives are voluntary organizations open to all people without gender, social, racial, political, or religious discrimination. So this cooperative organization, it is a voluntary organization and it is open to all people without any difference, whether it is gender, whether it is men or women, social, racial, political, or religion. Without any difference, anyone can become a member of this cooperative organization. Next, democratic member control. Cooperatives are democratic organizations controlled by their members, those who actively participate in setting policies and making decisions. So this cooperative organization, it is a democratic organization and it is controlled by its members, and these members, they participate in setting policies and also making decisions. The third principle is members' economic participation. So, members contribute equally to and democratically control the capital of the cooperative. So, members, they all contribute equally, they contribute the capital equally and also democratically control the capital of the cooperative. So, this helps the members in proportion to the business they carry on with the cooperative rather than on the capital invested. Next, autonomy and independence. Cooperatives are autonomous self-help organization controlled by their members. If the cooperative organization enters into agreements with other organizations or raises capital from external sources, it is done so based on terms that ensure democratic control by the members and maintains the cooperative's autonomy. So, cooperative organization are autonomous organization, self-governing organization. They are self-help organization which is controlled by its members. And if the cooperative organization, it enters into an agreement with other organization or with the government, or it raises capital from external sources, that is, it gets any financial aid from external sources, all this are done based on the terms of democratic control by the members, and also it maintains the cooperative's autonomy. The next principle, education, training, and information. Cooperatives provide education and training for the members, elected representatives, managers, and employees so that they can contribute effectively to the development of their cooperatives. Members also inform the general public about the nature and benefits of cooperatives. So these cooperative society, cooperative organization, they provide education, training, and information to the members. So because of that, these members, they can develop the cooperative and also they pass the information to the public. So they make the public to understand about the nature and what are the benefits of cooperatives. The next principle is cooperation among cooperatives. Cooperatives serve their members most effectively and strengthen the cooperative movement by working together through local, national, regional, and international structures. So these cooperatives, they work together, they strengthen the cooperative movement by local, national, regional, and international structures. Concern for community. While focusing on member needs, cooperatives work for the sustainable development of communities through policies and programs accepted by the members. So these cooperative organization, they not only focus on the needs of its members but also look into the development of the communities. So Frederick Nicholson, he is known as the father of cooperative movement in India. He studied the problems faced by agriculturists and prepared a report, and he played a vital role in passing the Cooperative Credit Societies Act 1904. The next topic we are going to see is features of cooperatives: voluntary membership, equal rights, democracy, honesty, mutual confidence, welfare main objective, cash payment, economy, distribution of profit, self-service. So all these are the features of cooperatives. Voluntary membership. Any person can become the member of the society and can leave it at any time. So already we have seen this. That is, the membership is open to all. Any person can become the member of the cooperative organization, and also he can leave it at any time. So they can come and leave the organization at their own will. Next, equal rights. Each member of the society has an equal right to vote and ownership. Each shareholder has one vote. So each member of the cooperative has equal right to vote. So each member has one vote. One member, one vote. Next, democracy. The principle of democracy is adopted while making the decisions. The decisions of the majority is honored. So here, for taking any decision, majority is needed. The next feature is honest. It is a basic principle of this society. Its members should be honest. So the next basic principle is honesty. Each and every member of the organization should be honest. Next, mutual confidence. Society's foundation is laid down on mutual confidence. So members should trust each other and work like a team. So every member should trust each other and they should have confidence on other members. Welfare main objective. Its main objective is to provide goods and services to its members of lower price. So the main objective of a cooperative is to provide goods and services at a lower price to its members, and its objective is not to earn profit. Next, cash payment. Credit sales is prohibited and goods are supplied to its members on cash payment. So credit is not given. Credit sale is not given in a cooperative, and goods are supplied to its members on cash payment only. Economy. The member of the society should act upon the principle of economy. They should not misuse capital of the society. So each and every member of the society, they should act upon the principle of economy. They should not misuse the capital of the organization. Next, distribution of profit. The profit can be distributed among the member according to the Cooperative Act. 1/4 of the profit can be kept in reserve. Then 10% of the profit can be used for providing facilities to the members. So the profit is distributed to the members according to the Cooperative Act, and 1/4 of the profit is kept in reserve, and 10% of the profit is for the welfare of the members. That is, it is provided to the members. Next, self-service. All the business activities are conducted by the members themselves. All are the owners and all are the consumers. So self-service rule is employed in the organization. So here all the business activities that is done by the members, buying, selling, is done by the members of the cooperatives. So they are the owner and they are the consumers. So here self-service rule is practiced. The next topic we are going to see is advantages of cooperatives: voluntary organization, easy formation, democracy, equal distribution of surplus, limited liability, separate legal entity, each for all and all for each, greater identity of interest, government support, elimination of middlemen, tax concessions, rural credit. So we'll see one by one. The first advantage is voluntary organization. The membership of a cooperative society is open to all. Any person with common interest can become a member. The membership fee is kept low so that everyone would be able to join and benefit from cooperative society. So this we have seen in the principles of cooperation as also in the features of cooperatives. So here the membership of a cooperative society is open to all. It is a voluntary organization. Anyone can become a member of this organization, and the entry fee is also very less. The membership fee is also very less, and anyone who wanted to join and who wanted to get benefit from the cooperative society can join the organization. So there is no barrier to enter into the organization and also to exit from the organization. Next, easy formation. Cooperatives can be formed much easily when compared to a company. Any 25 members who have attained majority can join together and form a cooperative society by observing simple legal formalities. So the cooperative can be easily formed. 25 members who have attained majority, they can join together and they can form a cooperative society. And for forming the cooperative, there is formalities, but those formalities, legal formalities, is also very simple. Next, democracy. A cooperative society is run on the principle of one man, one vote. It implies that all members have equal rights in managing the affairs of the enterprise. Members with money power cannot dominate the management by buying majority shares. So a cooperative society, it is run on the principle of democracy. So that is one man, one vote. A person may buy more shares, but he has got only one vote. So any member who has got money power, he cannot dominate the organization. So the next advantage is equal distribution of surplus. The surplus generated by the cooperative societies is distributed in an equitable manner among members. Therefore, all the members of the cooperative society are benefited. Further, the society is also benefited because a sum not exceeding 10% of the surplus can be utilized for promoting the welfare of the locality in which the cooperative is located. So, when there is any surplus in the cooperative society, it is equally divided among the members. And one more thing is 10% of the surplus is utilized for the welfare of the locality in which the cooperative society is located. Next, limited liability. The liability of the members in a cooperative society is limited to the extent of their capital contribution. They cannot be personally held liable for the debts of the society. So, the liability of the members in a cooperative society is limited. And if there is any debt of the cooperative society, it cannot be claimed from the members from their personal property. Separate legal entity. A cooperative society enjoys separate legal entity which is distinct from its members. Therefore, its continuance is in no way affected by the death, insanity, or insolvency of its members. It enjoys perpetual existence. So, a cooperative society, it enjoys separate legal entity. It is different from its members and it is in no way affected by the death of a member, and it also enjoys perpetual existence. That is how it is created legally. Same way the winding up of the organization is through legal process. Next, each for all and all for each. Cooperative societies are formed on the basis of self-help and mutual help. So each and every member of this cooperative is to help each other. So therefore, members contribute their efforts to promote their common welfare. So every member has to put their full effort to promote the common welfare. Greater identity of interest. It operates in a limited geographical area and there is greater identity of interest among members. Members would be interacting with each other. They can cooperate and manage the activities of the society in a more effective manner. So this cooperative organization, if you see societies, they are located in a small geographical area, and because of that they have got great identity. The members have also have got great identity, and these members, they can interact with each other, and also they can cooperate with each other, and they can manage all the activities of the societies in a very effective way. Next, government support. The government, with a view to promote the growth of cooperative society, extend all support to them. It provides loans at cheap interest rates, provides subsidies, etc. So the government in turn also helps the cooperative society. With the development of the cooperative societies, for the growth of the cooperative societies, the government provides them loans at cheap interest rates. Elimination of middlemen. Cooperative societies can deal directly with the producers and with the ultimate consumers. Therefore, they are not dependent on middlemen and can save the profits enjoyed by the middlemen. So, who are called as middlemen? That is the person between the producer and the consumers. For example, from the producers, the goods from the producers or from the manufacturers, the goods are got by the wholesalers, and from the wholesalers the retailers get it, and the retailers sell it to the consumers. So between the producers and the consumers, the middlemen are wholesalers and retailers. So in a cooperative society, if you see, the members deal with that is the producers, they deal with the consumers directly, so there is no need for the middlemen. So whatever profit earned by the middlemen, that is saved. Next, tax concession. To promote the cooperative movement, and also because of the fact that it is a non-profit enterprise, government provides various exemptions and tax concessions. So already we have seen that this cooperative society, it is not a profit earning organization, and in order to develop the cooperative movement, to promote the cooperative movement, the government also provides tax concession. Next, rural credit. Cooperative societies have contributed significantly in freeing villages from moneylenders. Earlier, moneylenders used to charge high rates of interest, and the earning of the villagers were spent on payment on interest alone. So the villagers usually used to get loans from the moneylenders, and these moneylenders, they used to charge high rate of interest. So whatever the villagers earn, that is used to spend on the payment of interest alone. So these cooperatives, what they have done is they have provided loans to the villagers at cheap interest, cheaper interest rates, and this have benefited the rural community. So now the rural people were able to come out of the clutches of the moneylenders. Disadvantages of cooperatives: limited funds, over reliance on government funds, imposed by government, benefit to rural rich, inadequate rural credit, lack of managerial skills, government intervention, misuse of funds, inefficiencies leading to losses, lack of secrecy, conflicts among members, and limited scope. So we'll see one by one. The first disadvantage, limited funds. Cooperative societies have limited membership and are promoted by the weaker sections. They cannot expand their activities beyond a particular level because of their limited resources. So, as we have already seen that these cooperative societies are formed by the weaker sections of the society, and the membership is also limited. The membership fee collected is also less, and they are not able to expand their activities because of limited financial resources. Next, over reliance on government funds. Cooperative societies are not able to raise their own resources. Their sources of financing are limited and they depend on government funds. So, already we have seen that the membership is also limited, fee collected is also limited, and the members are from weaker sections of the society and they are not able to raise their own financial resource. So these cooperative societies are dependent on the government funds, and the government funds are also not released in the correct time. So as a result, what happens is the cooperatives are not able to plan their activities in a correct way. Imposed by government. In the Western countries, cooperative societies were voluntarily started by the weaker sections, but in India, the cooperative movement was initiated and established by the government. Therefore, the benefit of the cooperatives has still not reached many poorer sections. So, in Western countries, as we have seen in England, cooperative societies were voluntarily formed by the weaker sections, mainly to improve their economic condition and also safeguard them from the big business people. They formed these cooperative societies. But in India, if you take, the cooperative movement was started and it was also established by the government. So here the participation of the people is less. So the benefit of the cooperative has not still reached the poor people. Next, benefit to rural rich. Cooperatives have benefited the rural rich and not the rural poor. The rich people elect themselves to the managing committee and manage the affairs of the cooperatives for their own benefit. So these cooperatives, they have benefited the rich farmers than the poor rural farmers. So here the rich people, they are elected themselves to the managing committee, and they, what they do, they manage all the affairs of the cooperative society. For example, if you see a small farmer, he has a small land. So whatever he produces in that land, it is sufficient for his family, and there is no surplus. He cannot take it to the market. But a rich farmer, he has got a large area of land and he produces surplus, and the benefit of the cooperative is given to the rich farmers. So the rich farmers, they are benefited, they get the services of the cooperatives. So this cooperatives, they benefit the rich people and not the poor people. Inadequate rural credit. Cooperative societies give loans only for productive purpose and not for personal or family expenses. So here the cooperative society, they are giving loans for only productive purpose and not for any family function of a farmer, any family or personal expenses of a farmer. So again the farmer has to depend upon the money lender. So here the cooperative society has not freed the farmers from the clutches of the moneylenders. Next, lack of managerial skills. Cooperative societies are managed by the managing committee elected by its members. They may not have the required qualification, skill, or experience. Lack of managerial skills result in inefficient management. So here cooperative society, it is managed by the managing committee, and the members of the managing committee are elected by its members, and these members, they lack skills, managerial skills, that they may not have any experience and qualifications. So what happens because of this? The management is inefficient. And one more thing, they, since the finance is also not enough, they have got limited financial resource, they are not able to employ the best talented managerial skill persons. So as a result, what happens? There is inefficient management. Next, government regulation. Cooperative societies are subject to excessive government regulation which affects their autonomy and flexibility. That is, government intervention is more in cooperative society. Next, misuse of funds. If the members of the managing committee are corrupt, they can swindle the funds of the cooperative society. So if the members of the committee are corrupt, they can misuse the funds of the cooperative society. Many of the cooperative society has been closed because of, that is, because of the misuse of funds and corruption of funds. Inefficiencies leading to losses. Cooperative societies operate with limited financial resources. They operate in the traditional mold and therefore suffer losses. So cooperative societies, they have limited financial resources. They are not able to employ skilled persons, talented persons, and they are not able to adopt new modern technology, modern management. So because of this, they use the traditional mold, traditional practice, and it may not be suitable in this modern business environment. And because of that, the cooperative societies, they suffer heavy losses. Next, lack of secrecy. Business secrets cannot be maintained in cooperatives because all members are aware of the activities of the enterprise. So for a business, if you see, maintenance of secrets is very, very important. So, but business secrets cannot be maintained in a cooperative society because all the members, they are aware of the activities of the society. Conflicts among members. Cooperative societies are based on the principle of cooperation, but in practice, there might be internal politics, difference of opinions, quarrels, etc., among members, which may lead to disputes. So, cooperation is very important in a cooperative society, cooperation among the members. But in practice, if you see, there is lot of internal politics and difference of opinion, quarrels, disputes among the members, which affects the smooth functioning of the cooperative society. Next, limited scope. The funds available are limited. They cannot undertake large-scale operations. It is not suitable in industries requiring large investments. So these cooperative society, they cannot be introduced in all industries because of limited resources, and large scale industries, where industries which require large investment, that these cooperative societies cannot be introduced. The next topic we are going to see is types of cooperatives. See what are the types of cooperatives: consumer cooperatives, producers cooperatives, marketing cooperatives, credit cooperatives, housing cooperatives, farming cooperative societies. So we'll see one by one. Consumers cooperatives. Consumer cooperatives are organized by consumers that want to achieve better prices or quality in the goods or services they purchase. In contrast to traditional retail stores or service providers, a consumer cooperative exists to deliver goods or services rather than to maximize profit from selling those goods or services. They also supply essential commodities through public distribution systems. So these consumer cooperatives, they are formed by the consumers if they want to achieve better price or quality in the goods and services they purchase. And these consumer cooperatives, they deliver the goods and services. They aim at delivering the goods and services, and they do not aim to maximize profit, and they supply the essential commodities through this PDS system, that is public distribution system. Producers Cooperative Society. Producers cooperative societies are established and operated by the producers. So this society is formed to protect the interest of small producers. So to help them by making available raw materials, tools and equipments, machinery, etc., and also arranging them for marketing and distributors channels, etc. And examples for producers cooperative society are cooperative weavers society, cooperative carpenting units, cooperative match factories. Next, marketing cooperatives. Cooperative marketing societies are associations of small producers formed for the purpose of marketing their produce. The marketing cooperatives perform certain marketing functions such as grading, warehousing, advertising, etc. They secure better prices for their members by transporting goods even to distant markets. So these marketing cooperatives, they are formed by the small producers, and for what purpose they have formed? To market their produce. They have formed these marketing cooperatives, and these marketing cooperatives, they perform certain functions like grading, warehousing, advertising their products, etc. And they secure better prices for their members, that is, they sell their products even in a distant market so that they can help their members. So if this marketing cooperatives are absent, it would be difficult for a agriculturist or small producers or artisans. So he would be forced to sell his products at a very less price to the middlemen. So this marketing cooperatives helps the small producers to sell their market their produce. Credit cooperatives. Cooperative credit societies are those formed for the purpose of providing short term financial help to their members. Agriculturists, artisans, industrial workers, salaried employees, etc., form these credit societies. Being unable to obtain financial accommodation from banks, they are at the mercy of moneylenders who charge exorbitant rates of interest. So, these cooperative credit societies, they are formed for the purpose of providing short-term financial help to their members. So this society, it is formed by the agriculturists, artisans, industrial workers, salaried employees. So people who are unable to get help from the banks, they get the money from the money lenders at a high rate of interest. So to prevent this and to prevent the people from the exploitation of the money lenders, this society was formed. And this credit society, it may be agricultural credit society and also non-agricultural credit societies. Housing cooperatives. These societies are formed to provide residential houses to members. They purchase land, develop it, and construct houses or flats and allot the same to the members. Some societies also provide loans at low rate of interest to members to construct their own houses. So here the people who wish to build houses of their own, they join together and they form the housing society. And these societies, housing cooperative societies, if you say, they provide loans to its members and it is repaid over a period of 15 to 20 years. So these house building societies, housing cooperative societies, they also construct houses for their members and they also allot the same to its members also. So some societies, they also provide what? Loans at low rate of interest to their members to construct the houses, their own houses. So some of the examples of housing cooperative society are the Employees Housing Society and Metropolitan Housing Cooperative Society. Cooperative farming societies. When various farmers in a village pool their land together and agree to treat the pooled piece of land as one big farm for the purpose of cultivation, purchase the necessary inputs for the cultivation, and market the crops jointly, they are assumed to have formed a cooperative farming society. So, in a village, farmers they join together, they join the lands together and they agree to cultivate in that big piece of land, and whatever is needed, the inputs needed for cultivation and for marketing the crops, all this are done jointly by the farmers. Then we can say that they have formed a cooperative farming societies. So beside land, the farmers also provide the productive assets as well as labor. Their labor is also given for cultivation. So for the land and productive assets, rent is given, and for labor, they get wages. Students, in this chapter, we have learnt about what is meant by cooperatives, what are the features of cooperatives, the principles of cooperatives, advantages and disadvantages, and what are the types of cooperatives. Thank you, students.